So how about that 2025, huh?
Show me I don't need no money, don't need nobody, just need your body. Show me that so sweet like honey, don't need no talking, just need your body.
If you've been chart watching this year, you'll know that it was a pretty rough year for the dance charts, between Billboard slicing the hot dance chart in half mid-January for no good reason, to the dance pop charts quickly turning stale as nothing new debuted, making the entire split nearly pointless. It was a pretty rough year. And probably more obvious to everyone else, the discourse around music this year was pretty grim too.
Heaven can wait, I wanna dance one more time.
And I have to agree a little bit. Even if mainstream dance music was actually more popular than you'd initially think, the entire year just had this air of directionlessness to it. The hits I actually loved from this year felt more like flukes, whilst the stuff I disliked did at least embody significant and notable trends right now, for the worse. It was just a strange year overall, and it doesn't help that the metrics I use for this video are some of the most mixed bags you'll ever hear.
Do you think about the days when we sat down smoking wine and drinking hazel?
Like I said earlier, my usual format for finding songs for this was chopped in half, so for this year I decided to expand out the criteria. Firstly, any song that hit the top 25 on Hot Dance obviously counts, as does any song that charted on the 15 song, why is it so short, dance pop chart. Additionally, any song that charted on the Talk of the Charts global dance chart, Sarah Men's Dance Pop Revised chart, which aims to show what the chart could have looked like if Billboard was more liberal with eligibility, and the global dance chart top 40 out of the Netherlands is eligible to chart. That way, not only is the field far wider, but the field is also far more varied, meaning that big dance pop hits that Billboard turned a blind eye to are also able to be discussed here. With that, let's get into counting down the top 10 worst dance hits of 2025. Interestingly enough, my number 10 tends to be from an artist I expect far better from. Not just purely because that ends up being the closest thing to a hot take on my list. Disappointments generally hurt a little more than the average slice of lazy expected slop. Kylie Minogue was coming off the heels of a great album when the world decided to make a shitty slap house song her biggest hit in years. Ava Max's deal of being a dictionary definition of the phrase pop singer has led to 2 albums worth of fun bops before her main creative team left her high and dry, and this next artist had been having a pretty excellent year as far as releases go. And yet, when my expectations were at their highest, he let me down.
I loved you once, do it twice. I love my teardrops, they all crystallize. I love my way.
So John Summit actually had a really good year aside from this. I genuinely adore Focus. Light Years and the remix of Delirium's Silence are both excellent. I'm one of the few who actually seems to like Is Everybody Having Fun for the more barren tech house banger that it was, so I was actually really anticipating this. After all, Light Years was an example of hopping on the Days' speed garage trend that was every bit as good as the original, and Inez's voice was a really strange presence that added to the atmosphere in a really cool way. So what gives here to make this his worst song since... Deep End? Like 5 years ago, holy shit. I mean, there's a glaring issue which I'll get to later, but I'm sorry, this beat just isn't very good. A noticeable bubbling undertrend of 2025 has been critically acclaimed albums that try to bring back that early 2010s electro house sound. Think Nina Geraci's I Love My Computer, or Frost Children's Sister, or the song they produced for Kim Petras, which is easily her best song in years. And I can hear that inspiration in this song, with that massive gritty bass that overwhelms everything. But for some reason, John decided to try and make the song both heavy and melancholic at the same time, and it just does not work.
You once, do it twice. I love my teardrops, they all crystallize.
Instead of feeling like an adrenaline rush, this chorus manages to feel both like a slap in the face and a weak come down all at once, and that is most certainly not helped by...
I know why you walked into my world. I could tell you were dying of thirst, so I cried for you, cried at my words. You like when it hurts, you like when it hurts.
For comparison, let's look at Inez's voice on Light Years.
Little by little, until it sounds sad. Little by little, until
On that song, her voice is covered in reverb and buried slightly in the mix, which would be an issue if it mattered what she was saying, but it doesn't. She just ends up becoming a strange, vaguely human presence in the song, which only makes it a whole lot better. Uncrystallized, however, her vocals cut right through the mix in such a piercing way on that chorus, and the copious amounts of auto-tune and compression do not make her enunciation more palatable in the slightest. I just do not like the way this chorus sounds at all. It's so sloppy in a way I hope was not intentional, and it just brings the whole song right down to something I can only barely stand.
I loved you.
You'll never hear this from me again, but the Subtronics remix of All Fucking Things is honestly a bit better purely because Inez's voice doesn't feel so blaring and out of place. Imagine that. Me praising Subtronics. How far you've made me fall, John. Hope that album turns out to be good.
I don't want your angry text, I don't want your sorry sex, I just want you on my fucking face.
Don't worry, nothing from K-pop Demon Hunters is making this list. I have my flaws with the soundtrack, and it's unfortunate that my 3 least favorite songs were also the 3 biggest hits, but there is a silver lining. Soda Pop is a very annoying song, but as much as the writers and producers tried to capture the disaster boppy edge of a bad boy band comeback, they could never even come close to capturing the sheer insanity of the Genuine article. With that said, I actually don't hate this like a lot of others do. Sure, both Ceremony and the other charting single from this project, Bleep, are both 10-car pile-ups of awkwardly dated production ideas that mistake noise and annoyance for catchiness and a hook. But I don't know, that's always been what I've found kind of charming about Stray Kids, their ability to sell a total dumpster fire with no shame. I appreciate that they have a song that sounds exactly like something Kuro would have released in 2018. I appreciate that their first song is a blatant attempt at reheating Millennium's nachos. And I appreciate that they made a song like Side Effects, which is genuinely fucking insane.
Side effects include nervousness, insomnia, nausea, agitation, anxiety.
The point is, I respect their dedication to the common K-pop trope of delivering EDM-y disaster bombs with full confidence and zero self-awareness, no matter how dated they sound half the time. And yet, somehow, someone found a way to make them boring.
I don't wanna live another day without you in the dark. Try to ride alone, but I had no clue, no, I've seen it hopeless.
Yeah, DJ Snake's still around. I don't exactly blame you for forgetting. He hasn't had a big hit in about half a decade, so why not try to mobilize the stay in a last-ditch attempt for Hot 100 crossover? And I mean, as far as collabs go, there's worse ideas out there. DJ Snake got his start in trap EDM, which is a genre notorious for making unserious noise, and Stray Kids are, well... that, which makes the route they went down completely baffling.
I don't meditate, so why you gonna take up hella space in my mind?
This is such a dead snoozer of a song, sanding off all the ridiculous brash personality of Stray Kids' members to turn them into anonymous, blurry sludge that complements exactly no one. And speaking of sludge...
falling out of place, falling with the waves till we weren't.
DJ Snake does actually have a couple of half-decent R&B adjacent songs in his catalogue, but there were like, 3 good songs on Nomad, and this was certainly not one of them. Mildly alright sounding synth solo aside, the production here is about as stock and underwhelming as you can get for this style of retro R&B. And once again, why would you ask Stray Kids? try and add some restrained sensuality to it. There are a lot of things I like about K-pop, but restraint and sensuality are two words that would rarely come up if I was pressed to explain why. This is just a crappy, misguided collab all round, and I'm glad that it seemed to fall off rather quickly and the stay moved on to something actually interesting instead. I will say though, at least it's better than that time DJ Snake tried to make his own sicko mode. Wait, no, go back, no.
I'm going dummy, yeah, I'm going dummy.
Well, you know what they say about killing two birds with one stone. This entire album was just generally filled with misses. Shout out to a boring pop trap cover of Phil Collins' Another Day in Paradise that French radio would not let go of, and DJ Snake's attempt to make a sexy drill song. And the two hits from it present the two sides of the ways in which this is by far his worst album to date. The tedious, boring side shown by In the Dark, and Tsunami, the cheaply produced banger side. And I'm not going to lie to you, this is by far the worst song of the two, so let's jump in, shall we?
Yeah, push truck with the trunk in the back. 4-5 on the seat with the Mac. Codeine in the
To start, why does this production sound like total ass? DJ Snake is a trap EDM producer, this should theoretically be his bread and butter, so why is the beat on Future's half so cheap sounding? This main horn riff in particular is so muddy and weak, synthetic, but with no punch. It honestly sounds like it's been badly extracted from another song and sloppily placed in this mix. There's also this one bass synth in the drop that just grinds away badly in the mid-range, which further just takes away any and all impact from this production. It's a banger, but with all the bangs systematically removed. And again, these sort of sicko mode wannabes often feel pointless even when the two disconnected halves of songs have somewhat decent beats. So I'm not sure how this was supposed to work when the beats are a 2 and 4 out of 10 respectively. And when neither of the two features are bothering to try, I struggle to understand why I should either.
Got that raw in the statue. Got keep more snow than aspirin. Snowmobile with a baby. Panoramic was happening.
Future and Travis Scott deliver the absolute bare minimum on both of their verses, sounding bored at best and actively terrible at worst. Seriously, Future is at his least passionate here in a long time. And Travis Scott is, well, Travis Scott. His floor's quite high, but his ceiling is also very low.
See an illusion, the twins way too confusing. Shots and contusions, the guys bad for pollution.
Like I said in the Crystallized segment, disappointments often hurt. And I think DJ Snake had a pretty solid, if nowhere near perfect run in the mid-2010s. So it's just sad to see that he's been reduced to having 3 good songs on a 17-track album. The snake is washed, unfortunately, and that's just how it is. No words here, this one's just annoying as fuck. So after what was a pretty poor year in 2024, the European EDM scene once again floundered around a lot this year, with seemingly very little actually gaining big traction in the streaming charts and a general feel of stagnation all round. And in that vacancy for producer-driven hits, one of the only big breakthroughs was a random Austrian by the name of Eli Oaks, who made one of the worst first impressions on me in recent memory.
Boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. I just wanna play with you 'cause you're my favorite toy. Boy, Sigma boy.
Yeah, remember Sigma Boy?
I make you a picture, that's the shit that I enjoy.
Boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. I just wanna play with you 'cause you're my favorite toy.
I mean, spoilers, that song is not going to be featured on this list, but if the Eli Oaks and Lavinia remix had any visible impact in any of the metrics I'm using, I might have been able to squeeze it here instead. Even aside from the fact that remixing a song near exclusively unironically enjoyed by 7-year-olds is generally a pretty lazy way to try and get your bag, but also trying to turn it into some strange bad bitch anthem whilst trying to use the term Sigma Boy in a way that isn't terminally online was embarrassing at best. And even if I did like his first real hit, KO, quite a bit, the perception was permanently set in my opinion that he was a hack. A hack whose music I occasionally enjoy, to be fair, but a hack. And then this dropped, and I couldn't stand it. Presumably in the wake of 2023's retro trance revival, there seems to have been a big rise in a particular subgenre of techno, rather fittingly known as hypertechno. Think Thank You Not So Bad, Let's Get Fucked Up by Alok, Voici ton chemin, Vocal Contact, etc. And from a lot of the big hits, I'm about 90% sure that I cannot stand this genre at all. It's almost always too annoying and spare to be listened to casually, far too mellow and bland to actually slap in the way that, techno should, and has generally just been a thorn in my side for the past couple of years. And Eli Oaks is doing very little to help change that perception. This has all the hallmarks of a shitty hyper-techno song, non-existent instrumental melodies, a strange need to be fast-paced with very little impact, and all that Eli Oaks seems to be able to contribute to the style is some frankly hideous vocal processing and a shitty speed garage bass that fuses with Lavinia's voice to create an intolerable wall of noise. Not helped by this fucking melody just being an earworm in all the wrong ways. Seriously, this thing eats through your brain tissue and leaves nothing but mush behind. I guess it does at least have a bit more of an identity, but that hardly matters when said identity only makes the song more grating. Eli Oaks has definitely made lazier this year. I mean, at the very least, this does not seem to be based around an interpolation. But this was by far the worst thing I heard from him or Lavinia. It's borderline garbage and borderline shit. Hope we never get something like it again. And speaking of trends that need to stop, among other things, 2025 was a really bad year for Brazilian funk. Admittedly, this was mainly because of funk mutating into a new level of laziness never seen before by, to put it very charitably, adapting elements of it. But in between the waves of random Europeans deciding that taking this culturally significant genre and turning it into the soundtrack for the worst men you know was hilarious, we occasionally just got some good old Brazilian funk gentrification. And from the king of gentrified genres himself, Marshmello. Wait, sorry, I got that wrong. Phantomel and Caitlyn.
Dame un grr. Un qué? Un grr. Un qué? Un qué? Un grr. Un qué? Un grr. Un grr.
For the quickest of backgrounds, Phantomel is a Romanian producer who has only been making music for a couple of years, but with the release of this song decided to adopt a sense of style that I'm shocked hasn't gotten him sued. And Caitlyn is a Romanian pop singer who had some mild success 9 years ago, and you don't care about this at all, do you? All you need to know is that they are two people whose exposure to Brazilian funk is surface level at best, and that they were both desperate for virality by 2025, and you can tell. Ignoring that the song is called Dame and Gurr, which is a very hard thing to ignore, they've spent the past year milking the shit out of this. Dame and Gurr Afro House, Dame and Gurr Deep House, Dame and Gurr featuring Jason Derulo, because we needed more washed artists taking part in this.
Baby, give me something like an animal. Body go dumb like an animal. I'ma make you come like an animal. Kitty, come down.
This is like the fourth time Jason Derulo has hopped on a random viral beat, and every single time has been egregious. And I mean, do I really need to explain why this song by two Romanians that features lines like this is, for a lack of a better word, a bit cringe?
Not one that you can ignore. I want your phone numero, por favor.
This is Meet Your Padre tier lyricism, and that's being charitable because at least the chorus on there wasn't a forced call and response that is as irritating as it is unfortunately extremely catchy.
Dame un grr. Un qué? Un grr. Un qué? Un qué? Un grr. Un qué? Un grr.
And the instrumental certainly isn't helping either, even compared to the actual Brazilian funk song Marshmello released this year. This thing is bland. Every little bit of distinctiveness the genre has, gone, evaporated. And I guess that means this thing isn't an intolerable listen, But on the other hand, wiping a genre clean of all its memorable traits so succinctly would be pretty fucking poor form. But considering the awful things that Europeans have been doing to Brazilian funk in all its forms this year, nah, we're not doing this. And yeah, this trend of shitty funk brasileiro is by no means the worst thing to happen to the entire funk umbrella. Trust me, we'll get to it. But that doesn't make shit like this any more sufferable or enjoyable. He tried. He really tried. He really, really tried. He promoted the song with a country-themed social media makeover for about a month. He thought this would be a thing. Needless to say, it was not.
2 a.m. on the street, the mirrors on my feet.
Calvin Harris has never been a technically good singer, but I would argue that he actually managed to find a range that worked for a lot of his voice around the time Ready for the Weekend released, as just a regular Scottish guy who just happens to have stumbled his way into the best party of his life.
She's the kind of girl that follows good weather. The sun brings out her sex appeal.
It's a little dorky for sure, but I'd argue a song like The Rain could not have worked anywhere near as well with a technically better singer on it.
When she called your name, I bet that you can hear the rain.
However, that very specific niche does not include country grit, which for some reason is what he decided to do here.
I sparkle like sun in June. Roll up and wait for you.
As always, he sounds really scratchy and monotone. And I mean, I guess it does fit for a song about using drug and alcohol addiction to cope with unspecified pain. He most certainly sounds like he's fighting for his life in the voice booth, but it's the wrong kind of scratchiness.
No, I can't smoke the pain away.
And speaking of the sounds of impending death, God, this harmonica solo. Just like Calvin's voice, it sounds appallingly weak and out of place in a mix that is otherwise really bland and lacking an interesting texture. I mean, that said, I doubt it could sound good even in a mix where it is better placed. It's such a dead wheeze of a noise that cannot carry a drop in any situation. And here, everything else about the song sucks, so it only makes matters worse. This drum switch up is technically a good idea, since it's only part of the song with anything approaching a groove, but then all the misguided country elements sound really awkward on top of it. Plus those drums disappear the moment the drop ends, so all that energy, dead, gone.
I can drink the pain away. No, I can snort the pain away.
This entire song is just a malformed mess. A switch up no one asked for or wanted from Calvin Harris that half-asses its way through the country elements before forcing in some equally half-assed house elements. It's a bad concept, executed confusingly terribly. And the world seemed to agree, because this thing flopped and Calvin was forced to go back to making good music again. And I mean, you know my thoughts on Blessings. I'm not going to complain. Oh, Cyril, how you somehow were the biggest producer breakthrough of last year.
Our love is alive. And so we begin.
Whilst his impact was pretty much non-existent on Hot Dance, Cyril actually had a pretty solid run of success this year too. His remix of There She Goes was pretty big on the global dance charts top 40 in Europe, and the Still Into You cover, God help us all, was a very credible hit overseas. And given that most EDM acts who break through as suddenly as he did tend to instantly vanish the moment one year turns to the next, it's commendable that he managed to just barely hold on throughout 2025. And more impressive, he did it with his level of production skill. So it makes sense that another producer would have a similar style of breakthrough in 2025, having two hits that break through at the same time whilst having a couple others make waves, with this producer following Cyril's strategy of remixes. It just so happens that this producer also followed in his strategy of being bad at them. is Ian Asher. He is a DJ who is honestly kind of killing it on TikTok, having accumulated 7 million followers in the course of around 4 years, largely through these song-by-song mashup TikToks that are seemingly very popular. I can't speak on his talent in that field, but in 2022 he made the jump to music, which is something I can speak on. Unlike Cyril, my first impression of him wasn't actually that bad, as his first notable release is a remix of Macabre by Jane that I actually kind of liked. I mean, on a side note, remember Macabre by Jane? What a weird moment in music history. Anyways, back to how this remix is one of the lamest things on earth. For some context, a couple of years ago, this remix by, well, look at that, Subtronics gets another positive mention, Call Me a Liar, was gaining some solid traction to the point of charting on Hot Dance, and putting it next to the Ian Asher one highlights just how embarrassingly weak the latter is. Both take the original and use the same section in a very similar way, both letting the play out over a drum and bass beat. However, listen to the drums in the Subtronics remix, hear the energy they have. Hear the way the song just blasts forward into some remarkably good synth switch-ups that add a bit more heaviness to the mix while still keeping all the propulsive edge. It's a remarkably subtle and refined job for the usually blunt forced production hand of Subtronics. And then hear the drop on the Ian Asher remix. Drums sound thin and dead. The fucking closed hi-hat is the only element of percussion in the mix, and it's by far the most dominant drum here. The pace feels so slow for a drum and bass remix. Seriously, a breakbeat would have done wonders. The bass has so little grit and texture. And why would you pitch up Sarah Barthel's voice like that? She is the one hook driving this totally lifeless mix, and yet Ian here turned a very solid little fragment of melody into something irritating. Ian Asher's remixes generally tend to have a sound.
Sweet dreams are made of this. So bad that I'm scared. Now I know how. Music is on. Your love is my love. Everything is blue. His pills, his dance, his jeans, and now I'm covered in the colors. Brought out the steam.
But at the very least, I'll take forgettable speed garage over something as limp and edgeless as this. Who knows whether Ian Asher will stick around? He's released a few remixes since that seem to be slow burns, so I'm a bit concerned for, us really. So many potential targets for underwhelming remixes. So little time. I would say I hope he takes the path of Cyril, but then again, like I said earlier, Cyril's had a pretty successful 2025. So, let's hope he either stops challenging the dance charts or improves. Because we do not need any more stuff like this in the world.
Bring it back.
I pray tomorrow will be okay,
Meanwhile, Cyril sure as hell hasn't been getting any better. Just making that clear.
Can't count the years on one hand, we've been together.
Why would you make this? Why would you do this? Who is holding you hostage? And why do you have such appalling taste in music? I don't know what would inspire a person to make a song like this, let alone remake this song like this.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. And baby, even on the worst nights, I'm into you.
I do think Still Into You by Paramore is a tiny bit overrated, which means that I think it's a brilliant slice of everything that made what remained of pop rock in the early 2010s great, and it's the sort of song where trying to explain the appeal of it feels just pointless. After all, you hear it, right? You hear this controlled yet perfectly loose groove, that brilliant sense of momentum, the joy Hayley Williams is able to project in her voice, right? And therefore, it'll be immediately obvious why this cover is absolutely horrific, because I hate everything about this. I hate the way this makes it so barren and empty. I hate the way these vocals are so loud and overbearing. I hate the way Mary Jo belts out the verses in the exact same way as the chorus. I hate the way Cyril blows out her voice with distortion all the time. I hate the weird stop-start chorus that kills the pace every few seconds. I hate how stiff and shrink-wrapped the drum sound. And above all else, I hate the sidechaining on this thing. Seriously, in addition to the distortion and her overselling, now Mary Jo's voice just dips so obviously every single beat, and trust me, it's near unbearable. Can you tell I don't like this one? After a whole year of being stuck with this, I'm honestly done with it, and you probably are too. So let's move on to something a bit worse, but something weirder. I was never into this, and it's only gotten worse.
I'm still into you.
Are you really still here watching that YouTube kid slop? Man, I really thought people would have better taste nowadays. Maybe you could waste your time doing something more mature, like taxes. But I know.
Ew.
Get your Jack's toy, get a little laugh, boy. So you're not down to climb, well, I won't let that get me down.
So here we have the first time I've ever discussed fandom music on this channel, which is really weird because I was actually fairly deep into the strange fan-based crossover that was the FNAF Minecraft animation community, but that's a journey for another day. Point is, I do enjoy whenever these songs end up crossing over. Take Back the Night is a legit incredible. Addict by Silverhound is basically just Wildcard by Kashmir, so I'm programmed to love it. I will defend It's Me and the Living Tombstones FNAF 1 song with, well, not quite my life, but, you know, my childhood. And I generally like seeing these cross over. It's kind of charming. Until... I feel like the lack of quality here really speaks for itself, doesn't it? The instrumental sounds like if Cocomelon met up with the Living Tombstone and got some horrible ideas, and then that song was remade by your 12-year-old cousin who keeps trying to get you to join Sora. That is to say that every element is desperately fighting for control while simultaneously sounding really weak and empty. It's such an awkward clunk of a beat that doesn't even bother to go into overcompressed clown dubstep like a lot of the more badly aged fandom stuff tends to.
Get your Jack's toy, get a little laugh, boy. So you're not down to climb, well, I won't let that get me down.
Listen to that muddy, grooveless bass line, that jerky mess of a melody, that cheap-ass snare that is desperately in need of some distortion or something. It's chaos that can't be bothered to go all out, so it just sounds sloppy and amateurish. And then there's Michael Kovac.
What's got you fuming, buddy? What's got you raging, dude? Did something piss you off? You better learn to cope soon.
He's a talented voice actor, sure, and I guess his vocal performance is on theme if nothing else, but on the other hand, his delivery here is so grating on the ears. Just constantly forcing out every single line the most irritating way possible. And when this beat is as weak and messy as it is, Michael shouting out these lyrics only makes it feel more like sensory overload. And I love songs that are loud and annoying, but something about this entire thing just breaks me.
What is it? Are you crying from the jab to the side? Can't handle snide comments, looking to confide in Ragatha. Good luck with that.
Part of that is that this is literally made for 8-year-olds, as you can probably tell. I am far too old to be within the intended audience. But this shit is just so cloying and icky. I mean, not unlike my number one, I can imagine the traumatizing AI slop fandom crossovers that will be created with this playing in the background.
I'm your Jack's toy, have a little laugh, boy. I say I'm sorry, but it's not that kind of party.
This chorus is just... No, I can't do this. Moving on. Next.
I'm pulling up in that Ranger to slide. All of these bitches, they give me the eye. Run up on big and these ratchet like die. Came from a hood to a crib in the sky. All of these bitches.
All things considered, this has not been the worst year for David Guetta hits, but it would have to be bottom 3 at the very least. After You was excellent, A Better World was great, however he spent most of the year doing what he does best, trend hopping like his career depends on it. Which it kinda does, but that's beside the point. Additionally, the interpolation core grind continued, with a remix of Total Eclipse of the Heart becoming a surprisingly stable worldwide hit. However, Guetta and company decided to take things a step further and dip into the bag of posthumous rap samples. You know, to add the finishing touches. However, even with the posthumous grave robbing of P&B Rock, if the song was good, I might have been able to give it a pass. However, after going through the effort of negotiating with P&B Rock's record label, Stephen Pierre over here decided to use his voice to make this. This would have been embarrassingly dated if it had dropped 3 years ago, but in 2025, this is just humiliating. For as much as I've talked about Guetta so far, Steve is equally to blame for this one's lack of quality. It's pretty easy to forget about him since he's only had one hit in the past 7 years. A future-based song with Kiara and Wiz Khalifa that interpolates Unwell by Matchbox 20. But for those unaware, he spent the 2020s shoveling out album after album of trend-chasing collabs Drake style, in a desperate grasp for relevance that deviates from Guetta and Drake's part exclusively in the way that it has not been working. Some songs on there are good, a lot of them are average, and one of them is a hardstyle remix of Kids by MGMT. But either way, he's been struggling for years, and Guetta is, well, Guetta. His reputation's pretty evident at this point. But you'd think both would have understood that the days of this sort of shitty, low-effort slap house remix are pretty much done, right? Even if we're only a few years past age where nearly every big EDM hit sounded like this, I'm not sure if a style of dance music has aged so badly, so quickly as slap house. Big Room's close, but at least that had a core obvious purpose, that being to get wasted people in outdoor arenas turned the fuck up. And even by the standard of slap house, this is a weak, dead instrumental.
The price, tits in my face, they pretty much cover my eyes. Sipping on whiskey, couple of cubes of ice.
Once again, it's a song where the slap bass has all the slap removed from it, the drop is flavorless and hookless, Sway Lee could not sound less engaged, and P&B Rock's voice here is so badly mixed it's comical.
I'm pulling up in my diamonds dancing, all of these bitches know I'm the man. She see the money, say I'm so handsome, she see the diamonds, say I'm so
Even if you had no idea who he was and that he was dead, I reckon it would be so blatantly obvious that he is an alien on this mix. His vocals sound so garbled and teeny in a way that screams free vocal extractor website. It's such an amateurish rush job coming from, holy shit, 7 producers, and it shows that they neither cared or could afford to find a vocal fragment that was finished or workable, or one with a melody that even fits.
I'm pulling up in that Ranger to slide. All of these bitches, they give me the eye.
Seriously, this sounds like a beginner mashup with the way this melody is technically on beat, but clearly was never made for a song like this at all. And it's just really lazy, alongside just being pretty gross. In a normal year, this would be number 1. It's low-effort garbage by 3 artists who have no excuse to be making shit like this after the careers they've had, that use the vocal of a dead man as nothing more than a flourish for a cheap, failed attempt at a hit. But somehow, there was a song that was worse. Let's find out what that was. But first, some honourable mentions. Yeah, it's used really well in the film. Does not mean I have to like the song though.
I'm his queen, I'm his freak, I'm every woman he wants and needs.
Genuinely, who gives a fuck anymore? There's better things to waste my energy on than the 4th worst song on Katy Perry's 3rd consecutive Witness era. Disappointed to hear that mediocre melodic, heavy, melodic attempted crybangers are still alive and, well, in 2025. But the rest of this is nothing to write home about either. Tinny mixing, a heavy drop that just grinds away awkwardly, and it has to be known that Julia Michaels makes for a terrible melodub singer. That's just the wrong instrumental for these lyrics, as in incorrect, misused, tonally mismatched, wrong. This song definitely sounds like it was made by a guy whose favourite Latin dish is paella. Seeing Shakira being sucked into the Disneyverse again by just making Try Everything, but somehow way worse, is just sad to watch. I thought she was past this by now. A weak husk of a joke tied to the least memorable electro swing instrumental we've ever heard. At least the performance was funny. It's fine, but once again, why listen to this when you could listen to this?
Is it desire?
Or this? Also, pitching up Ollie Alexander Years and Years' vocals was a terrible choice. Ollie Alexander Years and Years does not sound good pitched up. Do not do this to Ollie Alexander Years and Years ever again. So just to be clear, the reason why Subtronics caught strays across two different entries is because his usual standard is stuff like this. Probably could have made the list if it didn't come around so late, plus calling it a hit felt charitable. Nope, we're not doing this. We are not enabling shitty deep house covers of pop rock classics by the guy best known for this shit. Admittedly, it's a bit worse in concept than execution, but I refuse this on principle. I was considering doing another tie with My Life. The only thing stopping me is that My Life is bad in a pretty similar way whilst also being exponentially worse. But yeah, this is terribly flaccid new disco that somehow turns a stunning melody into something totally lifeless. I'm not an Ivy fan by any means, but this was just cruel. I've more or less used up all my possible material on Odutari, and this is not his worst song to date, nor is it bad in a particularly different way for him, so I left this one off. Still very bad though. Like I said in the intro, an interesting part of doing a list that is genre exclusive means that I can look at the popular music of a year in a slightly different way, and possibly try to avoid the main narrative surrounding a particular year.
You're taking me out of the ordinary.
As in, you've all heard the narrative around 2025. It's dead, lifeless, 2024's leftovers, nothing's going on. But as for dance music, yeah, most of the big hits aren't producer, featuring vocalist hits anymore. But then again, that's basically been the deal for the 2020s in general. EDM producers just don't have that much pull anymore. Even for the hot dance charts, the stunningly stagnant top 3 was more due to astonishing negligence on Billboard's end. And looking below that, things were certainly happening. In fact, there was a massive wave of producer-driven hits filling up the charts, mostly new breakthroughs, and in a style that has only really come to prominence in the past couple of years. So why the hesitation? But there was nothing that I got more tired of across the year than terrible attempts at Brazilian funk. Oh, you had no idea what was coming. Ever since funk's chart breakthrough in 2022, the genre has continued to find new and astonishing ways to shit on a very solid first impression, ending up with the sudden and unwelcome mutation into what is most commonly known as Brazilian funk. Basically imagine Brazilian funk, but way louder, more aggressive, made exclusively by and for Europeans, and with a distinct and copious reliance on AI. And I mean, almost everything about this stuff just really skeeves me out. Taking a genre that's significant to a massive population and AI slopifying it to be a soundtrack to the worst TikToks you've ever seen. But hey, when the music sounds like this, I honestly don't even need to expand on that, because what the actual fuck am I listening to? In addition to being one of the first big hits of this new wave, even amongst a low standard of quality, Functo Bounce manages to be one of the absolute worst. Paso Bem Solto, Montagem Tornada, Lunabala, Dia Delicia, and the like are all pretty rancid, but they at least had the respect to not sound like evil clown music. Even after a full year of being exposed to songs like this, that piano line makes my jaw drop with horror every single time. It's so piercing and high-pitched, and it makes the audio manage to sound suffocating in such an openly unpleasant way. I can't imagine Aris sitting down at his laptop at 4 in the morning, a stack of empty Red Bulls to his side, and hearing this massive distortion and thinking, you know what, this sounds great, let's send this one out. It sounds like being smacked in the face with a haunted house. Every little element just hitting it the right way to be overwhelming with no space to breathe. Additionally, there's the more popular but equally disastrous slowed down version, which just leaves every distorted drum hit to sit for just a little bit longer because we all needed that, and the fact that it has to be pointed out that this vocal sample, it's in Spanish, which is a language which has to be noted Brazil does not speak. Make of that what you will. Overall, Functo Bounce is my number one, not only because it sounds absolutely horrific, but because it was the worst example of a trend that took over the year. If I didn't use this song as a representative for funk, this list would be almost entirely made up of these sort of songs. They were consistent hits, consistently awful, and pretty much indistinguishable. The Hot Dance Top 100 has 18 of these hits alone, and there were even more on the Talk of the Chart's global chart. Almost all pretty abysmal, in very similar ways. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about this shit. It's certainly the worst song I've placed at number one thus far, and I hope 2026 does not find a way to top it. Hopefully I can convince myself to write an actual best list this time, because there were plenty of good hits this year. But until then,